Thank you very much. Thank you for participating in that very simple exercise. We just wanted to get home this point that words have power. Words are power. Words can hurt. Words can heal. Words can build. Words can destroy. Articulate leaders need to be masterful in the choice of words. And this is where we gave you this little exercise, simple exercise, but it makes you stop to think that if I were to use these words, I would actually be encouraging the person, affirming the person. I would not destroy that person. All right, so thank you very much for that. So we move on. The fluency factor, we're just kind of rounding off what articulate speaking is all about. And I just want to focus on the first one, which is effective language. Now, most people seem to think that the more complex or the more big sounding words I use will be very, very impressive. Well, it's just the opposite. We never speak to impress people. We don't want to use highfalutin words, big sounding words, or what they say, bombastic words, just because we want to impress people. Never. We always speak to express, never to impress. And the best way to impress your audience is not to speak using complex terms, complex words, but keep it simple. And the more simple you keep your message, the more they will be impressed. So remember that. Yeah? Never speak to impress, but speak to express. And keep it simple. The more simple your language, the more clearly you will come through. All right? Grammar, set of rules, diction, how you speak, how you sound, enunciation, how clearly, I spoke about that, and pronunciation, how correctly you pronounce your words. Put it all together and you have the fluency factor. And once you have that fluency factor in your grasp, the fear factor gets kicked out. So work on this, my friends. Work on this. All right. The thing that I would like to share here is listen to yourself, meaning take yourself.
Sir, may I ask something?
Sure.
From the previous concentration, it is more proper to use straightforward language or using metaphor?
Good question. Straightforward language or using metaphors. Metaphors are good to illustrate something. You can use analogies, metaphors. They help to kind of embellish, make your talk more beautiful. So it's perfectly okay to use metaphors. But again, think of your audience. Who's your audience? Can they relate if they spoke in metaphors? Would they be able to understand it? And if you find that, I don't think my audience will be able to accept metaphors and so on, or analogies and things like that, then speak straight. All right? Thank you so much for that. So I'd like to just look here on the listening to yourself, which means actually taping your talk or taping your speech, playing it back so that you have an idea how you sound. Another way, of course, is to get a colleague to listen to your delivery and to give you feedback. All right? So listen to yourself. I'd like to add this second last, pausing for effect. And this, as I shared with this table over here, is one of the best ways that you and I can deal with fillers. Instead of saying, well, there are three things that I would like to share. The first one is, there are three things that I would like to share. And the first one is, we should never speak to impress. I just gave a little pause. To put it more colloquially, zip the lip. If you're tempted to go in for that, and we know for a fact we want very familiar places, very familiar places. Just zip the lip. Pause. And pause has a tremendous effect of getting your audience's attention back to you. Apparently the span of human attention is about 6 to 7 minutes. And after some time of listening to a speaker for about 6 or 7 minutes, the human mind tends to wander. You join Han Solo and Studebaker and you move into the fifth dimension and so on. But the minute you pause, get what I'm getting at? Wow, he stopped. I don't know what's going on, what's going on, he stopped. They get back the audience attention. So, be masters of pause. Be men of pause if you want to, all right? And finally, of course, voice modulation. Speak high, speak low, speak fast, speak slow. Voice modulation that will help you speak in a way that you don't sound in monotone. And a lot of speakers tend to have that same kind of tone throughout. You go, and guess what? Within 7 seconds, your audience has gone to sleep. Hence, we have this word monotonous. So never speak in monotone. You will end up being a very monotonous speaker. And leaders who are monotonous in the way they speak don't inspire people. Okay? So use voice modulation to avoid speaking in monotone. Over the years, I've looked around here and there, and I've summarized the principles of delivery. The 5 P's, and I like to share this with you. Yeah? The first P is pronunciation. Be good at pronunciation. Again, whatever language you speak, master your pronunciation skills. It's amazing. I have twin grandchildren in Singapore, and they have to learn to speak Mandarin. And my grandson says, I just can't handle the intonation and so on and so forth. Whereas his twin sister goes in for it, just takes naturally like fish to water, all right? But he can't get his pronunciation right. And because of that, he's being moved to a simpler Mandarin class. But the sister is going ahead, because her pronunciation is really great. Pitch. It's your volume, it's your level of voice, the quality of voice or a musical note. So there are times when we need to speak up, we need to raise our pitch. And sometimes we use pitch to actually display the kind of emotional state we're going in. If you and I are excited by something, would we speak in a higher tone or a low tone? You meet a friend on Monday morning in the office and you struck the 4 digits. Would your talk be in very, as we get, I've got 4 digits, by a go, I will even 4 bucks. Oh, but you say, hey, you know what happened? Notice the pitch? Yeah. Get that into your system. Use pitch to kind of reveal the emotional state that you are in. It helps to get your audience to understand your emotions. Now, power. The ability to project one's voice. You don't have to be a military man to project your voice. All it is, you need a little bit of breathing exercises. Check it out with Mr. Google. He may have been ex-army, but he will teach you how to develop your voice power. Pause. No, nothing more to cover on that. And pace. Speak fast, by all means. Speak slow. Vary your pace. The average speed of people speaking, 145, 150. But the principle in the use of pace is you normally pick up on word parts that are not so important, but slow down. Slow down when you've got something important to impart, so that your audience can tune into you. And then you pick up your pace again, all right? Good. We're going to do a very quick exercise just to show you how you raise and emphasize your voice can change meaning or can change the understanding of a sentence. All right? It's the way you use your voice. So, look at that. I'm going to pass the mic around, and the first person that I pass the mic around to is, I would like you to stress the word I. Right? You can't do the word I. And then you continue with the sentence. All right? Let's start with this one, yeah? You stress on the word I and finish off the sentence. Yeah, just stress the word I and complete the sentence.
I didn't say he stole my money.
I didn't say, maybe she said it, but not me. I didn't say it. Now, stress the word say.
I didn't say he stole my money.
I didn't say he stole my money. I just hinted, but I didn't say it. Are we getting a different meaning now? That's next word.
Makes sense, right?
Stress the word.
I didn't say he stole my money.
I didn't say he stole my money. She stole my money. But not him. All right, get the difference. Now, how about emphasizing the word stole?
I didn't say he stole my money.
Yeah. I didn't say he stole my money. He borrowed it when I wasn't looking. I didn't steal it. All right? Stress the word my.
I didn't say he stole my money.
Not my money, he stole somebody else's money. And the last one, stress the word
It
money.
implies different meanings.
I didn't say he stole my money.
I didn't say he stole my money. Yeah, I didn't steal my money. I stole my credit cards. All right, good. Now, summarizing, articulate speaking, and delivering with impact. Leaders, when you stand up to speak to your team, or you address senior management, whatever, you're giving a project debrief, you're giving an update, you're giving your plans for the year, and so on. The minute you stand up to speak, I'm using the military term, take command. In other words, be prepared. Have your facts, have your figures. All right? Practice, 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 so that when you stand up, you are already that much rehearsed, and that level of confidence that you have is already within you. Now, as a leader, project your leadership presence. Let your audience see your behavior, your gravitas. Let your audience feel now the power of your communication. Take command. You are in charge. Remember that tape we saw by Professor Alex Lyon? It's one man, one lady, and a whole room of 250, 300 people. Take command. And this is where you want to leverage your executive or your leadership presence to be seen and to be heard as a leader who takes command. We can all do it. And it is incumbent on good leadership to be able to take command. All right? We talk about crashes, Phyllis. All right, you know what that's all about. That's another element. If you want to take command of a situation, be assertive. To be assertive means to be very firm in what you believe in. Believe in your message. Believe in what you've got to say. Believe in yourself. And when you speak, or when you are giving a talk to higher management, assertiveness means no weak speak. Translated, lemah cakap, lemah. Weak speak. You don't want to tell your board of directors, well, you see, we've thought about this, so perhaps we could look into it this way. Or maybe we should think about this. You follow? Maybe we should. Perhaps we should think. Now, you don't command. You are not assertive. But if you want to be assertive about your recommendations and your suggestions, say so. I strongly believe, my team and I are convinced. We strongly recommend. That's assertive language. And that's what is expected of leaders. Not, maybe we should, we like to be very tactful and diplomatic. Perhaps we could. Be assertive. Non-verbal communication. Body language. I need not say much more about that. All right? Stories. Stories are a very powerful way to get a message across. And one of the things that leaders who wish to be articulate speakers need to do is to build their storytelling bank. Because if you were to reflect, going back to the time you were kids, you went to school, you went to college, You join your company or you work in different companies. Somewhere down the line, you have gone through certain events and certain experiences in which you learn a lesson, in which you have a message to impart. Think about that. Because sometimes when you're speaking to your team and so on, you draw from these stories. You draw from these stories. And that story will help to reinforce a point that you wish to make or to clarify something that you're saying. You know, famous author by the name of Jonas Sachs, Winning Story Wars, he says, it is part of our biological makeup. In other words, it's within our DNA to be creators and consumers of stories. And we all grew up on stories, didn't we? For my fellow Malaysians, how many of us can remember stories of Sam Kancil? Naik Dagan. There we are. How is it? My dad told me stories of Sam Kancil when I was 6 years old. That was almost 100 years ago. Yeah, but we remember things, don't we? We remember stories our dad told us about ancient China and how they came across and so on. Stories are very powerful. So what I ask of you as leaders is build your storytelling bank, because you can draw on it from time to time when you're giving briefings or giving talks. Draw on those experiences because they will have powerful messages. Secondly, when you speak and you tell a story, when you personalize it and say, this is what I went through, you are the greatest authority, isn't it? So a story puts you in a very credible position, in a position to be a really powerful person because you went through it and no one can dispute that. You are the greatest authority. Build your storytelling bank. All right? Okay, vocal variety, movement, audience, live. All right? You could include analogies, yes. You could, yeah, but it's always if you have a personal experience and you narrate it and it is congruent to the message you're trying to get across, you are the greatest authority. All right? Good. Read your audience. I have to read my audience at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so I give them silly games like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Edwin. Speaking of audience, how about audience engagement and connection? You know, my own personal tip is that as soon as you can, please be in the hall earlier than your audience, isn't it? You can already welcome them, you can already walk the room, you know, eye contact, because it's sometimes so hard that you don't know a familiar face. Yeah? So engage. Let's go to the first one. So you talk about authority. Didn't you notice? I could have introduced myself, Edwin could have introduced himself, but we got our moderators, okay, our master of ceremonies to introduce us, to have that certain credibility. Because it's hard if you introduce your own, right? It's like you are, you know, kind of lifting up your own seat, so to speak. Right? But credibility is gained when someone else introduces you. Like, why us? Why the particular topic? And then, for dealing with mind and emotions, you know, I think more than anything, similar to what Edwin mentioned, reading the audience, because sometimes, right, it's not really what they say. Obviously, they'll just be, you know, nodding and all. And that's why I actually like being in front of, you know, leaders, HR. There's always a kind of, there's a certain energy that obviously we get from our audience. You see them nodding. It's like, okay, I can connect. You know? So not just the mind, also, but even the emotions. We talk about blending in. There's, in my case, so blending in terms of what? Blending in terms of, obviously, kind of experience. So how many of you here, before you deal with an audience, you would actually check in and say, who will be my audience? Profile them. As a general rule, I blend in a little bit also, even with like attire, but I make sure, and this is what I learned even from previous training, we dress up one notch higher than our participants. Isn't it? So imagine, but as a general rule, right, we would have our coats and all, but I wouldn't come here in a long gown. I wouldn't blend in. Does that make sense, right? So it's a little cool, a little, so blending in, okay, audience engagement and connection. If you could speak the language, you could actually share, and all of that is part of the interaction. No matter how, even if sometimes I'm just given like 15 minutes, 20 minutes to talk, I'll still make sure that, it's like something like, how many of you here? And people will raise their hand. Right? So a little bit of a survey. If you could make them stand up, you make them interact. Sometimes the challenge with us as speakers, we want to hear ourselves. But guess what? Your audience wants to do the same. Isn't it? They also want to kind of, not just learning from us, but learning from each other. So get them standing up, get them moving, and obviously what's valuable for them would be, what would be their interest? Why they came to the session in the first place. You could do a bit of your needs analysis, you could do a bit of your research. The interest value is something that is really critical. As Gerald Green and DTM, Toastmasters, have a message. Guess what, guys? We are the message. I'll turn you over to Edwin.
Thank you, Sarah Lee. Now, just wrapping up with a little bit about storytelling, just to share with you how you can approach storytelling to build your storytelling bank, all right? Because stories can entertain. They've got a lot of entertainment value and so on. You can use stories to challenge people, to inspire people, to motivate people, and so forth, all right? And it can be explained, told, and retold. Macam cerita sang kancil, kan? Over the years, we can repeat those stories, all right? Now, how or what's the secret to telling a good story? We're not asking you to tell your whole life history, but to focus on just one aspect, just an incident or an event in which you learned something, or you have a strong message to impart. And the principle of it is storytelling, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. But the formula. Think of this furry animal that you see that gets attacked by polar bears sometimes. Think of the acronym SEAL, S-E-A-L. Short. Keep your story short. 2 to 3 minutes. E for entertaining. Yes, it has to have entertainment value so that your listener will listen. A is audience appropriate. In other words, relevant to the message you're getting across. And finally, it is learning oriented. That's all we can share with you on storytelling. But if you need to learn a little bit more, of course, you can get a lot from Google. Or if you want to find out more about storytelling, give Sarah Lee a call or give me a call. All right? And we'll tell you stories. All right, good. So, this is the final part. This is the final part. Because what we expect to see leaders to be able to do is at very little or at very short notice to be able to stand up and speak impromptu. Speaking impromptu means I speak at very little or hardly any warning. To use an expression, it's speaking off the cuff. Yeah, it's off the cuff. And we all need to be developed in this particular area. Believe me, I've done a lot of training in the corporate sector over the last 30 years. And this is one area I see a lot of managers and leaders fumble. They're not sure what to say or how to marshal or arrange their thinking. But it can be done with practice. But you need to read a lot. You need to be well informed. Because if I were to say to you, global warming, you should be able to say global warming. Well, recently there were fires in Athens, there's fires in Australia, and then you can start talking about global warming. You see that? You have to be well informed, keep up with the times. But you need the right mindset. And the right mindset says, hey, it's okay. If you're well read, if you keep abreast of the time, you can be very deliberate, you can speak impromptu. It's just that you and I don't think about doing it or practicing it, all right? Now, next, if you have to speak impromptu, the first thing you don't want to do, you don't want to come up and say, well, actually, ladies and gentlemen, I'm quite sorry, you know. I didn't have much time now. Forget about it. No apologies. Just get up, stand up, speak up, and then shut up. Okay, no apologies. Now, what are templates? Sarah Lee has mentioned Toastmasters. Toastmasters movement gives you a lot of templates, pre-designed sort of things like PREP, point, reason, example, point. Past, present, future. Templates, or agree, disagree. All right? Cause, effect, remedy. So no matter what topic you're given, you can think of this. Agree, disagree, past, present, future. It will fit into one of these templates. All right? When you stand up to speak, define your purpose. Right? And move at a deliberate pace. Now, we spoke about pace earlier. So this is where you can actually slow down a bit as you gather your thoughts, as you arrange your thoughts. You speak at a deliberate pace. Not at snail's pace, because your audience will fall asleep, and then you'll have no audience to think about, but more deliberate than normal. And so when you are at a deliberate pace, you'll be able to marshal, arrange your thoughts, come up with words, and you'll be able to move through it. All right? Try to think of how you are going to end. How can I start strong? How can I start in a way that's going to immediately arouse the interest of my audience? And when I finish, how can I summarize it in a way that I can finish strong? Think of that. Start strong, finish strong. Finish with a summary. All right? Good. So, how do we go about that? It's practiced articulation. Practice yourself. Tomorrow morning, if you like, before you start your day, just think of something like, okay, global warming. Now stand in front of the mirror and speak about global warming for 2 minutes. Or when you're having a little canteen break together, having your 10 o'clock break. 4 of you, okay, let's talk about something. Our gold medal tally in the Olympics. Why isn't Malaysia yet on the gold list? Because we haven't found a sport that Malaysia can excel in. Now, if they had eating, Malaysia would win a gold medal, isn't it? Yeah, because we are one of the world's greatest. We beat everybody else, even the Philippines. Good. So, practice articulation. Be in emotional control. Yes, we tend to panic. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Oh my God. No, but be in emotional control. Keep it cool. Chill, as the modern people would say. Chill. Just be cool. Remember, the more knowledge you build up, the better informed you are of current affairs, about the environment, what's happening in the news, the more informed you are, the more well-read you are, you will be able to handle impromptu speaking much, much better. All right? And of course, have that self-confidence. So now, let's do a bit of practice. We have assembled 3 prizes for 3 brave volunteers. So we want 3 volunteers. And you come, when you're ready, you come up. I got some cards, you play Macau, you know, and you select one, you go back, and after you put yourself up of your feet, go back, prepare. We give you 3 minutes. 3 minutes to prepare. You come up here and speak for about 2 minutes to 3 minutes. All right? So we ask for 3 volunteers. Every time I ask for 3 volunteers, you know, the ceiling is examined much more closely, the carpet gets or you sit at the table.
What's the topic?
Thoroughly. Let's get 3 volunteers, shall we? Very nice topic. Well done. Put your hands together. Paul, Muhammad Zuraidi. Okay. Yes, you choose. There you are. Now, you've got 3 minutes to prepare for this. Oh, yeah.
So the topics are here.
All right. Anyone from this side? Anyone from this side? Thank you, sir. Hold on. Now you're going to see what impromptu speaking is all about. Yeah? I think we have the right level for that. All right. Okay.
No change it.
No change.
Okay, one
We
more.
got one more. Remember, we got 3 lovely prizes, yes?
Oh, one lady, please. One lady.
Yeah, she's got 2 men, 1 lady. How about some women power? Dr. Kathleen, can you recommend one of the women power numbers? All right, okay. Suddenly we got one volunteer. She got a hand raised by herself. All right, so 2 minutes from now, make some quick notes. We're going to time you. We'll give you exactly 2 minutes from now. It's